Thank you for taking time out with PSOA. Sean Johnston here from Omaha, Nebraska, bringing you NSAA NFHS training tape number 7. I'd like to thank Nate Newhouse, the NSAA Director of Sports Officials and Football Officials, for sharing these clips and having conversations with other state observers and myself to bring the philosophies, the rules, the mechanics, and what we expect Nebraska high school football officials to apply when working Friday nights. The first play we're going to take a look at is interlock blocking. As this play goes, there's going to be two groups of blockers coming together, and they are now grasping each other. But what is the rule? How long can they grasp onto each other and remain in contact with each other? And the rule is they must let go well before they initiate a block. If they are still grasping each other at the time of the block or just prior to, we have a foul for interlock blocking. And this end zone view is going to show the best look that these players' hands are still together just prior to and during the block, which makes this a foul. So you have these two players on the left, these two players on the right, just prior to making that block, still grasping onto each other. Correct call, interlock blocking. Second clip we're going to take a look at here is illegal personal contact against a receiver. The question brought to us is, can that linebacker legally block the receiver? And the answer is yes. That linebacker can block the receiver. Keyword there is legally. We have two illegal actions here. One is initiating helmet contact to the chest. The second is making unnecessary, excessive contact with an opponent. That is well beyond what is needed to legally block the opponent. So correct call once again for illegal personal contact on the receiver. Third clip. Again, is this contact against the receiver legal? As we go through this, I would love to hear feedback from the audience watching this training tape. Which foul that we discuss here would you call and why? Please put it in the comment box. We're looking to see what you see and how you see it and which rule you would connect this contact with. So first, we're going to talk about defensive holding on an eligible receiver on another clip. But you can legally block an eligible receiver. You cannot grab, grasp, encircle, clamp. You can't hold an eligible receiver. Now, we're going to focus on number 84 here. What type of foul? Is it defensive pass interference, early contact not playing the ball? Is it a block in the back, contact squarely between the shoulder blades where the numbers are? Do we have an illegal blindside block outside the vision of an opponent, forcible and not with open hands? Or do we have illegal use of hands, where a defensive player contacts an eligible receiver who is no longer a potential blocker? So now let's let it play out. There's the contact. Result of the play is almost an interception. All right, so when you're going back and asking yourself, which of these foul categories would you put this contact in? Pass interference, block in the back, illegal blindside block, or illegal use of hands. A blocker is a person by rule who is using their body to obstruct an opponent, this receiver was not using their body to make contact with an opponent. So we're interested to hear, what foul would you call? We will say in this training tape, this is a foul. Free kick reminders. The player that is circled and is behind that 5-yard belt, if he's not the one that kicks the ball, we would have a foul for illegal formation at the time of the kick to make it a dead ball foul. Second, we have encroachment. Rule 281. This player is a foot down, torso ahead, beyond the free kick line. Dead ball foul. Another thing we're going to have here, at the time of the kick, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players on one side of the ball. Dead ball foul, illegal formation. We're going to continue. We have a illegal pop-up kick well high into the air, equals dead ball foul. All those fouls at this point is going to prevent a collision, a potential collision play, and that is exactly why in high school all those fouls are illegal. If they're not legal on the free kick, blow it dead, avoid potential collision plays. This play remains live. Now we have a legal touch, as the ball went 10 yards and it did touch the ground. We did not call it as a foul, but it did touch the ground. The ball traveled 10 yards, and the kicking team does have a right now to touch and recover this free kick. In your pre-games this week, remind ourselves, we have our bean bags in our hand high up in the air as a mechanic to tell us every free kick is an onside kick until proven it is not. When these plays happen and we're surprised, we're going to miss a judgment, we're going to misapply a rule, it's going to surprise us. That beanbag in your hand high in the air, remind yourself all those free kick rules and the ones that make the ball dead, 5-yard penalty, re-kick. There's a lot of questions over what is not a horse collar tackle. This training clip is a perfect example of what is a 3-step horse collar tackle. We have 3 items here that make this a horse collar tackle. And those 3 steps are, number 1, the grab of the inside back, inside side collar, or the nameplate area. Number 2, we have a pull backwards or sidewards. And number 3, that pull takes our opponent to the ground. Illegal personal contact, horse collar tackle. 3 things are required: the location of the grab, the direction of the pull, and the pull takes the opponent to the ground. For this play, we're going to talk about offensive pass interference terminology, because this is going to be an example of a play. As long as the officials have the correct terminology, the NSAA, the observers, are going to be able to support either a foul called or a foul not called. So now, talk about offensive pass interference. Orange number 45 sets a pick on the defender to allow teammate number 1 to gain space. This is downfield blocking, early blocking, pick play categories of offensive pass interference. If this is called, this is a 15-yard penalty from the previous spot. Replay the down, which is 3rd down. Philosophy, coaches, to avoid any judgment of the official deeming this offensive pass interference by rule, it is the offensive player's responsibility to make sure there is not contact. So number 45 is setting up in a space on the football field. He has to be able to understand that defender is going to follow the receiver. He's got to get out of that defender's path to have an official judge offensive pass interference or not. So there is contact, not a lot of contact, but sometimes the big fouls is little contact. All right, so again, officials, if you throw this offensive pass interference, you got to use the terminology that the offensive player initiated contact with their body into the opponent, which obstructed that opponent from making a play. This is beyond the line of scrimmage. The throw is beyond the line of scrimmage. Coach, for me not to make that judgment, please have your receivers not make contact. I will say, officials, we will do a much better job officiating a game if we find ways on fairness fouls to find reasons not to throw a flag versus finding reasons to throw a flag. Flags are very impactful to a game. You want to make sure every flag is worth the impact it has on that game. Would this flag be supported? Yes, with the correct terminology to the observer, to Nate, and to the coach. Would this be supported as a correct no call? Yes, with the correct terminology to the observer and to Nate. Terminology connecting to the rule is an important factor. Making your flags that impact the game be huge on fairness fouls is an important factor as well. Another judgment play that we're going to connect to terminology. Block below the waist. This is the defender. All right, so initially, we don't have an official quote-unquote keying this defender because our keys are focused on the offensive players. So as this play develops, the judgment we have to now judge, where was the initial contact on this play? It's not was there contact below the waist. The key word is where was the initial contact on this play. In slow motion, with this angle, I still cannot with a definitive answer say where the defensive player's initial contact was. So if we have a flag on this play, we're going to have to be able to explain to our coach, in my judgment, I have the initial contact below the waist. That's why I have a flag. Now it's not thrown as a flag or a foul on this play. If the coach is asking for a question, we have to be able to explain to the other coach, in my judgment, the initial contact was above or at the waist. That's why we did not have a foul on the play. So again, a 50-50 judgment call, and us understanding what the NFHS rule is and then be able to communicate that terminology to the coaches will help educate and keep the game under control. We had defensive hold-in previous in this training tape just to show what it is. This is the clip we're really going to explain the philosophy and threshold of it all. So as we play this out, we have this receiver who started in the backfield to protect the quarterback. He's now trying to release as either a check down pass or a screen pass. Yes, it is in the backfield, but it is legal to block a receiver even while the ball is in the air with that receiver in the backfield. But you have to block legally. Grasping, encircling, grabbing, restricting an eligible receiver is not legal. So as we play this out, you see his arms around his waist, impeding this receiver from running his route. And then the quarterback just dumps the ball away to avoid being sacked. All right, so at this point, we go back to the philosophy as holding. First, we have the category, grab and restrict. Now we have the impact on the opponent, not able to run his route. Now we have the impact on the play. The quarterback was forced to throw the ball to the ground to avoid a sack. All right, this is a foul at this point for defensive holding. 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. In this case, it would result in a first down. Can a defender legally block a receiver in the backfield even while the ball is in the air? Yes. But holding is not a legal block. We do have a division of football in the state of Nebraska called SixMan. I'm very proud that one of our premier Sports Officials Association crews works SixMan Football at Hampton. So this clip is to go over the specific six-man rule of who can legally advance the football. The ball may not be advanced across a line of scrimmage until after a direct handoff or pass has been made by the snap receiver. So what this means is the person receiving the snap, they can legally pass the ball, really, to any teammate. You could check out SixMan training tape made last year for that rule. But they cannot run and advance the ball beyond the neutral zone. As we play this out, the player, now we have a backwards pass. That was an intentional release of the ball in a backwards direction. Even though that ball hits the ground, officials, this is not a fumble. This is a backwards pass. Mechanically, we do not throw our beanbag because it's not a fumble. We are punching backwards. Punching backwards is letting everybody know it's a backwards pass. Anybody could pick it up. Anybody could advance it. And the enforcement spot is still the previous spot because it's not a fumble. That's why we don't have a beanbag. Once this player picks up the ball, he was not the player or was not the snap receiver. So therefore, he now possesses a backwards pass. He can now advance it or throw it. Legal play in six-man football. Play number 2, we have the snap receiver receiving the ball right here. If he directly hands the ball off to this sweeping teammate, this second player would be able to either advance it or throw it. Instead, he chooses to pass it to the other teammate. Judgment here. Is this a backwards pass or forwards pass? When in doubt, to avoid that loose ball, we're going to make it forward. If you have it backwards, officials, punch it backwards. It lets everybody know when that ball hits the ground now, it remains live and in play. Once this player recovers it, since he was not the snap receiver, he can legally advance the ball as he does on that play. So, six-man action. The player receiving the snap can only pass it. The other teammate who receives a direct handoff or pass may advance or pass the ball. That does conclude Week 7 training tape for the NSAA NFHS football officials. We are going to have our third and final film study where we as a collection of football officials gather and study film just like coaches and players would during the week. And our main topic this week is grading. How can we take a look at the game we just worked as a crew, grade the game? All right, so hopefully you could join us Wednesday, October 9th, 7 o'clock, 8:30 live at Tanner's on 119th and Pacific Street in Omaha, Nebraska. If you can't join us in person, but 7 o'clock to 8:30 does work for you, you could come back to this YouTube channel and watch it live, ask questions in the comment box, react to questions which we're going to ask throughout the meeting, and put questions for our guest speaker, Nate Newhouse, who will be there from 8 o'clock to 8:30 talking about what he is doing to prepare now for postseason play. If you can't make it live, we will have this available at our YouTube channel under the live tab, just like all of our previous live sessions. Thank you for taking time out with PSOA today. Thank you to Nate Newhouse and the State Observers to providing these clips and feedback to get our staff, all football officials in Nebraska, closer to consistency with philosophy, mechanics, application of the rules, and terminology. Officials, until next week, remember, we're only as good as our last call.